Good afternoon or good evening. This is Steven Munatones. I'm the CEO of KAATSU Global, and we have these periodic webinars where I can answer any questions that you may have regarding KAATSU, our protocols, our history, our research, contraindications, how to use, how to start, what to do, or anything at all. Whatever questions that you may have, whatever issues or um, uh, you know ideas that you may have for your use of KAATSU, whether it's rehabilitation, recovery from surgery or anything, please go ahead and raise your hand. I see we have one hand raised, or you can type your email, I'm sorry, type your question in the chat below. So um, let me get the people who raised their hand first here. Um, and let's see. Nope, sorry. Um, oh gosh, I'm trying to figure out. There are three of you who raised your hands, and I'm trying to, and for some reason it isn't allowing me to call upon you. Let me try something else here. Here we go. Okay, Joanna. Uh,
Can you
hello,
hear me?
Joanna.
Yeah, hello. Um,
Hello.
I have a question. Um,
Yes.
does KAATSU have an effect on fascia? And if so, does it loosen fascia and does improve mobility?
It can. Yeah, you have to be patient and you have to be diligent when uh, you want to address this issue. And very simply, you would put the band either on both arms or both legs, or one arm or one leg, depending on where your issue is. And you would start off in the low, very low pressure. We start off with low pressure because, like anything in our bodies, we literally have to allow the vascular tissue to warm up, if you will, just get uh, more elastic. So you start off in a very low pressure, just like if I went for a run in the morning. I'd put on my shoes, I'd go outside and I'd start to stretch, I'd start to walk, and then gradually I'd get into a jog and perhaps a run. Um, so the same thing we do with KAATSU in our with our vascular tissue. Oh, so that's one point. Start off very low, very gradual, and you use the KAATSU cycle mode. So that's pressure on, then pressure off, then pressure on, then pressure off. And what happens is, like you're blowing up a balloon, gradually your veins and arteries become more elastic. And again, they're right below or they're ubiquitous. They're all over our body. And you first want to get that uh, as elastic as possible. So you start off in low pressure. You have the cut cycle, which is the bands have pressure and then they deflate. So inflation, deflation, inflation, deflation. And each time there is inflation, deflation, the inflation amount incrementally increases, just a tiny bit increasing. And so you would do that. Are there any particular um, things that you do right now to help with your fascia?
Unfortunately not,
Okay.
because actually one of your staff sent you a question about my pelvic restrictions
Uh,
and stuff like that, and you kindly answered the question. And what I've decided to do, I've just found a physical therapist who is amazing, I've introduced her to KAATSU, and I'm going to send her all the details.
Okay.
And so she's amazing. Her introduction to um, equalizing my pelvis and increasing my mobility is very kind of innovative. And she said, yes, yes, use your use your KAATSU bands, and that'll give you double benefits.
Perfect. That's the best of all worlds. So, what I would recommend in your case, because you have so much trust and confidence in your physical therapist, is I would actually do the cut cycle before I went to see her.
She's on Zoom actually.
Zoom. Okay. Well, before you see her virtually or in person, either way. And then when you're with her virtually, then you can totally focus on what she's asking you to do.
Yeah,
And I think that is truly the best combination that we've seen across the board is when we use Katsu. But Katsu for many people or many things is not everything.
yeah.
So in your case, combining Katsu with physical therapy, especially with someone as knowledgeable or perhaps insightful as your physical therapist, that's really good.
Yes, I had my first meeting with her on Zoom an hour ago,
Okay.
and because she does certain um, videos on YouTube.
Okay. Okay.
It's called the McCall method. McCall method,
Okay.
but
I'll look that up.
yeah,
Yeah.
MCCALL, and
Ah,
Lisa Ann McCall.
okay.
And I said to her, you really must look up Katsu because this will give you double benefits for all the people you're treating. And so hopefully, she's asked me to send to her the information, which I will later on tonight in the UK. And but her approach is completely different. It started off when she had an accident and her pelvis was completely twisted. She broke her hip, and she recovered herself from this problem using unconventional methods. She said to
Okay.
explore also. She would be good to have somebody to contact or connect with, and also for her to try out these bands. So,
Great.
yeah,
Great. Where are you located in the UK?
I'm in London.
Okay. Well, I was just joined by Chris Morgan. He's our Chief Performance Officer. He's actually on his way to the Winter Olympics,
Oh
where
wow!
he'll be assisting the Canadian men's ice hockey team.
Oh,
But along the way, he's going to the UK.
oh,
Um,
oh.
and so, Chris, maybe you can talk offline with Joanna. Maybe you can meet because it would be great if Chris could meet your physical therapist and maybe they just,
Oh,
even
she's
if,
in America. She's in
oh,
America.
she's in America. Okay, well, then Chris is in Boston. I'm in California. So
Yeah, she's
we'll,
in Flagstaff or wherever.
okay, so closer to me. Okay,
Yeah,
all
the
right.
only problem in the UK is the guy who's supposed to be Dimitrios.
Yes.
I've had problem. I can't get hold of him. He doesn't reply
No,
anymore.
neither can we.
Ah,
So,
so then you look in.
Joanna, if you could just communicate with our staff, here we're headquartered in California. We are taking over the KAATSU UK business
Oh,
because,
fantastic, fantastic.
yeah,
Please, because I've tried so many times. I saw him once a couple of years ago. He
uh-huh,
came over, and since then, because I wanted to ask him many, many questions about how to use Katsu with regards to my issues, and there's no reply whatsoever.
I, I,
So please do. I'd be
yes,
so
please.
great.
We'll be more than happy to answer your questions and work with you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Thank
Take
you.
care. All
And
right.
you. Bye bye.
Bye. All right. William, the mic is yours. Hello, William.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. We can hear you.
Okay, yeah. My question is, are there any studies or any anecdotal evidence or discussions about the use of the bands for sensory peripheral neuropathy, whether it's neutral, beneficial, or perhaps even if there's ischemia that might make it worse?
No, we've not. We and our colleagues, unless Chris is just on his way to Europe to get his own PhD. Unless Chris, you know of anybody. Um,
Yeah, no, Stephen, that's a great question. And to William, correct?
yes.
Yeah.
So there are some more small case studies on different extremes of neuropathy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to in the chat, just in a direct chat to you, give you my personal email or my company email, and I can send you some interesting, both anecdotal but also some smaller case studies that might give you some information on that.
Yeah, if you would please, because I discussed it with my friend who's a neurologist at Johns Hopkins, and then Barrow's Neurological Institute in Phoenix had actually recommended generically BFR, and based upon some comments I heard from influencers who I thought knew what they were talking about, I purchased your system, but I just want to understand what's out there, either in studies or anecdotally.
Yeah, I'm gonna just in the next few seconds here, you'll get a little bump from me with
Thank
my
you.
email. Yes.
All righty.
All right. Thank you. All right. Marie, the mic is yours.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for taking my questions. I have a number of questions. The first and foremost thing is, I don't know the website that I went to, and I can't tell you which one it was, but it was the one after your last seminar. It was all in Japanese.
Ah,
And
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
I couldn't find any information on cost or anything, but I heard Dr. Mercola's lecture.
Uh-huh.
I took the quiz. Somewhere there was a link to take a quiz. And based on the way I answered, they said I should purchase the $1,295 KAATSU. Well, I'm 77 years old. I'm not real high tech. I really don't think I need it to connect to an app or my phone. I sort of understood the concept. But, and you had said in your lecture something about C4. Is
Yes,
there a website that explains all of this or any of this so that I can make a calculated decision?
yes. So Marie, yeah, for whatever reason, maybe you went to Google and you got directed to the Katsu Japan website. So uh, if we just go to
Stephen,
katsu.com.
Stephen, I just messaged it directly to,
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
okay,
yeah.
yes.
I have a few more
Oh
questions.
no, and Marie,
Yes,
what I
yes,
would suggest is if you could email us at info at
right.
katsu.com, ask that very question, and we'll send you out our little brochure that
Oh,
compares
good.
the differences between the C4, which I do recommend you use. This is the B2. It's Bluetooth, it's app. I would venture to say your grandchildren would probably enjoy using this. But my mother, who's older than you, and my father, who's older than you, don't use this. They use the C4.
Do you know what that costs? Because I
Yeah,
thought,
it's I believe it's 1295, 1,295 or
okay,
1,395. I don't
okay, all
remember.
right,
And it's half the cost of the Bluetooth one.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. My other question is, I do swim laps. Is there any, can you wear it while you're swimming, or is that not, are they not waterproof?
So the C4, the B2 bands, the band itself is neoprene or wetsuit material. The
Right.
band itself can go in the water, but the unit cannot. Now the C4 and in the B2, the unit is attached to the band. So this itself cannot get or should not get wet. The C4, if you remove the controller unit from the bands, those bands are made of wetsuit material. They can be put in the water, not a problem.
But will they work without the unit?
So there's what we have two modes. One, which is by far the most important and most impactful, the most profound, is the cycle mode. That's pressure on, pressure off, pressure on,
Right.
pressure off. Now, when you remove the controller unit, you only have pressure on. And
Okay.
so pressure on is good. However, the real benefits are having that pressure on, pressure off. So
Right.
Chris is actually an Olympic swim coach. So he uses his KAATSU bands on the swimmers that he coaches. They're a quarter of your age or a third of your age.
Yes. Yes.
And so in your case, what I would recommend if you really wanted to use the bands in the water is after you do your laps,
Yes.
then go to the shallow end of the pool,
Mm-hmm.
put the bands on, and simply do sculling or take hand paddles or something and move your arm using the resistance of the water
Mm-hmm.
to get the KAATSU effect. That's
Okay.
what and same thing, we have a lot of individuals, swimmers and non-swimmers, who would use the bands in shallow water, put them on their legs, and simply do KAATSU, we call it KAATSU aqua walking.
Right.
Um, my mother, who had two knee replacements, that's how she rehabilitated. She's 88 now.
Okay.
So yeah, if
It
you wanted
sounds
to
it
use it
it
in the water, I would do exercise in shallow water as you're standing up, either on your arms where you're just pushing the water back and forth, or on your legs, just walking comfortably.
okay. I mean, the interesting thing is that I am old, but I do swim 80 laps. And I think I've been swimming all my life. So I have strength in the swimming, but it sounds almost like I would need like an exercise in the water, just my arms and legs, not so much the lap swimming.
Yeah, and then you'll when you do try it in the water, because your hands or your body will be moving against the resistance of the water,
Right.
it gets pretty hard pretty quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I have one more question.
Uh-huh.
My husband has congestive heart failure and he has a pacemaker.
Mhm.
He's pretty weak. And these sounded good for just, general movement for someone. He's 88. If, I mean, are there any contraindications to using it with congestive heart failure or a pacemaker?
So, before I answer that question, Chris, as Olympic swim coach, do you have any additional information for Marie on KAATSU Aqua?
No, I think that was great, and I think what more importantly, and this is where Katsu becomes sort of almost difficult to understand because we have sort of our in-house saying that it's profoundly simple but simply profound. Is even if you were to do the Katsu cycle as you were preparing to get in the pool and you did 5 to 10, even 15 minutes of just gentle cycles, you're gonna get a benefit without even doing any Katsu in the water in
Okay.
addition to a regular swim practice. So because of the hormonal release, because of the sheer stress that you have on your vascular tissue before you even swim, for that swim following the Katsu cycle session, you're going to have benefit. So it's really hard for a lot of us to wrap our brains around because it sounds too good to be true, right? But what
Yeah,
it
it
is
does.
it's really science. It's really science. What we're doing is we're forcing our body to adapt, which it normally does, right? As we age, our body's continually adapting. It's just sometimes the aging fight wins over the adaptive fight. So
Right.
What Katsu allows your body to do is almost slow down that battle between aging and adaptation. Because the other fancy buzzword we use is longevity. Our chronological age versus just our actual age. So what Katsu does is it's kickstarting your body into a super organism of healing and health. So if you can swim even just after doing a KAATSU cycle, you're going to have benefit. But as Stephen explained, light use with just the neoprene bands will also be quite difficult.
Okay, thank you so much.
And Marie, before I get to your husband's
Yes.
heart issues, just to explain a little bit more what Chris said and why it is profoundly simple is many years ago, I would say over 20 years ago, we took a bunch of college young boys at the University of Tokyo Hospital, and we had them go through a vigorous bout of KAATSU. So they did KAATSU. And then the poor boys, we poked them over the next 24 hours, and we were taking blood samples the entire time. And we wanted to see the effects of KAATSU over a 24-hour period. And it turns out that after they took off the bands and they stopped KAATSU, that the body, as Chris explained, was still responding. And actually, the hormonal release, the growth hormone, peaked at 12 minutes after taking off the bands.
Huh.
And
Wow.
so what Chris is saying is, let's say you're on the pool deck or, in the locker room and you're doing the KAATSU cycle and you remove the bands, put on your swimsuit, put on your goggles and start swimming, you're still getting the effects within that
Right.
hour and few hours. And it's actually peaking 12 minutes, probably during your warm up, probably during lap 20.
Okay.
So
How
that
easy is it? How easy is this thing to use with the unit on it? I mean, do you have to program it and everything?
No,
And
no, not the C4. The C4
okay. All
is
right.
plug and play. The B2, which is, it's used with an app, that's a little more technical, if you will. This is the app, this is how it looks.
Mm.
And then then you start pushing buttons and everything.
Right.
That's a little more complicated.
Right.
The C4, you have three choices: low, medium, and high.
Great.
And you
That sounds
just,
like my speed.
yeah, yeah, yes. Now, for your husband, before we launched here in the United States, or actually outside of Japan, we did a 10-year study with 12,000 patients at the University of Tokyo Hospital under the guidance of a team of cardiologists. We wanted to prove over a 10-year period, using thousands of patients, that KAATSU was safe to use. And we couldn't just pick 12 people or 24 people or even 200 people. So we did this over a 2-year period. And during that, I'm sorry, 10-year period between 2004 and 2014. And during those 10 years, we were working with lots of people, a little over 2,000 people who had heart disease. They had either strokes, they had heart attacks, they had stents implanted, they had a variety of cardiac issues. And it was there that the cardiologist and the KAATSU inventor, Dr. Sato, came up with our current protocols that we have on our website, in our user manual, etc. So we know it's safe because we've proved it. Now, the issue is that everybody's different. Your husband may be, either a higher risk or lower risk than these 12,000 other people. So the best thing that you can do is we have a section on our website. Again, if you just email us at info@kaatsu.com, we can direct you to this page, which is the cardiac rehab page, if you will. And that'll give you and your husband's doctor all the information that you would need. So the physician can say, uh, Mr. Ford, this is good for you, or maybe you
Right.
want to pass on this. So we especially people who have cardiac issues, we always defer to your own physician. But we have information for your
Okay.
physician to make a decision.
Yeah, he's pretty weak, and that's why he can't do a lot of
Yeah.
strenuous exercise. But I thought this would be good even if he does, very little with his hands, or it might
Yeah.
strengthen him a little bit. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right. All right. Well, thank you
Okay.
so much. I
Okay.
appreciate all your answers, and
Okay.
I hope I can get to the right website.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Well, if you go to the chat area in on this Zoom, under chat, Chris put the
I
website and
got it.
information.
I wrote
Okay.
it down. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
All right.
Steven, we do have two questions in the queue that have been waiting before we take our next hand
Oh, okay.
question.
All right. Let me see the questions. The first question is, I recall a study that was looking at diabetic foot damage. In results, any role in neuropathy? Yes, we've done a variety. Off the top of my head, I don't recall that particular. I think, are you referring to diabetic ulcers? Um, Uh, if so, I can find that study and send it to you. Again, just send us that exact question at info@kaatsu.com, and then we'll get back to you after the webinar is over. And the second question in that from that individual is any role in neuropathy. And so, yes, we do a lot with uh, injured individuals or individuals with various diseases, and we do the same. The protocols for how we work with people with various neuropathies is the same as what we do with people with various kinds of heart disease. And that is, as I said to the very first person with the fascia issue, is key points are start off very, very gently, be very patient, be very diligent, meaning do it daily, do KAATSU daily. And you don't have to do a workout. You could just go about your day doing things that you normally do. Um, Brush your teeth, brush your hair, making coffee, washing dishes, typing on a computer, holding a book, etc. And so start off very low, use the KAATSU cycle mode. We recommend that you are very well hydrated when you are doing KAATSU. Think of when you go get a blood draw, and if you're dehydrated, the likelihood of the phlebotomist having trouble finding a vein for those who are not so veiny is harder. The more well hydrated you are, the easier the phlebotomist has to find a vein and draw your blood. So we want your vascular system to be, or you want ourselves to be very well hydrated. So the KAATSU effect is enhanced. And so we just do that over and over again. If there are any particular, if you do work with a physical therapist or you have a physician and they have made any number of recommendations, you can do what they recommended, whatever movements or physical therapy exercises they have recommended for you with the KAATSU bands on. As you actually have the KAATSU bands on and you're doing and you're in the cut cycle mode, and you do that over and over again, meaning on a daily basis. Next question is, I developed hip flexor pain and bursitis due to overplaying pickleball. I stopped and are using KAATSU leg bands. Should I continue with the KAATSU leg bands? And if so, what exercise should I be doing to help with my recovery and rehab? So, um, just to summarize, so you were playing pickleball, did it a little too much. You had to stop, but now you're using the KAATSU leg bands. And I'm not quite sure if your bursitis and hip flexor pain are healed now or not, but the question is, should I continue with the KAATSU leg bands? Yes, I would continue with the KAATSU leg bands for the rest of your life, frankly. Chris and I will be doing KAATSU on our arms and legs for the rest of our lives, whether we're injured or not injured. But in your case, if you're still injured, I would use the KAATSU leg bands. I would recommend that you do a few things that would actually help significantly. One is when you put the leg bands on, make sure you're sitting down. When we're sitting down, the muscles in our legs are relaxed. When we're standing up, the muscles of the legs are contracted because they're holding up the body. And so what you want to do is you want to put the bands on when your leg is relaxed. So put on the bands when you're sitting down, then do 1 or 2 KAATSU cycles in low. What this does, it actually begins that process to make our veins more elastic. And an interesting phenomenon occurs when we do that. After 1 or 2 cycles, so after 6 to 12 minutes of KAATSU cycle, pressure on, pressure off, you will find you can take the band that's around your leg and slightly increase the tightness. Even if you tighten it as much as you can, after you do the KAATSU cycles, you will be able to do just a smidgen more tighter, and do that, and then continue with your KAATSU cycles in whatever exercises that your physical therapist has recommended or coach. And that can be as simple as walking at a very comfortable pace. Not a power walk, not a jog, not sudden lateral movements left and right when you are that you would do on a pickleball court. But simply if you are indoors or outdoors, let's say walking around the pickleball complex or park. Now, if there's at any point the bursitis is aggravated or it starts to give you pain, take off the bands. If the bursitis is on one side or the other, you can start with both sides. If one side starts to feel uncomfortable, take it off immediately. Just put it on the other side. We would also recommend that you actually put the KAATSU bands on your arms before you start with the leg bands. I know it's sort of counterintuitive, but putting on the armbands and doing a few KAATSU cycle sets will actually help the veins of your legs to start becoming more elastic. So when you do shift to your legs, you're getting optimal KAATSU effect. So one, start off with the armbands, do a few KAATSU cycles, put on the bands when you're sitting down, do a few KAATSU cycle sets, then retighten the bands slightly more and continue with the KAATSU cycles. And you could do any exercises that your coach or your physician or your physical therapist have recommended as you're doing the KAATSU cycles. If you have some discomfort in any way, take off the band, keep it on the other side. Okay. Next question is, you're talking about growth hormone. Does this have any negative implications for breast cancer survivors? Maybe that's a dumb question. And how about for people who have a very high lipoprotein, but who have scans showing low soft plaque? So the first question is, we do KAATSU with a large number of people either undergoing treatment currently or who are in remission. That includes leukemia, skin, breast, prostate, pancreatic cancer, lung cancer, and a few other cancers off the top of my head. Perhaps there is information or other things that you read that maybe there is some metabolite, some protein, some hormone that is not to be elevated if you are in remission from breast cancer. But remember, when we're doing KAATSU, it's signaling to the brain that some mechanical stress is happening in the body, either your arms or your legs. Um, and your brain will only produce as much as uh, is needed. It won't overproduce. It won't underproduce. It will produce the amount that is appropriate for you. So we've never had any issue with uh, people that are undergoing currently cancer treatment or who are in remission. I think it was back in 2006. We have a scientific literature on use of KAATSU with cancer patients. Again, if you send to info@kaatsu.com, we can provide you with that information. It's a little bit heavy reading, but it was meant for the layperson, the non-medical layperson. So perhaps you might have some interest in reading that, and we can send it out to you, not a problem. So any question you ask is not a dumb question. Absolutely not. Because KAATSU is very different. People do have a variety of questions, and we enjoy fielding them. Um, I think you had about having a very high lipoprotein and people who have low soft plaque. I'm not uh, I'm not qualified to specifically address that. But like the issue with the cardiac patient, um, what we can do is provide your physician or um, endocrinologist or whoever you're working with to that they can read and give you appropriate advice. But I do not believe there is any issue there. Let's see. I've asked this question before, but I never got an answer. I had a mastectomy, and would cuts be safe on the effective side? Um, Amy, I'm sorry we didn't answer the question before, but the quick answer is yes, it's safe on the effective side. In fact, I can recall um, a photograph that I took of a KAATSU user, and it was back when we had pink bands. We used to sell pink bands. Um, Basically, we dyed the bands pink, and she had a mastectomy, and we actually have the KAATSU band on the side where she had a mastectomy. Why? Because we were trying to rebuild that side. It was done with her doctor's approval. And again, like the cardiac issue, like the diabetic ulcer issue, like the cancer issue, we always start off very low and then gradually increase. But KAATSU should always be gentle. It should never hurt or be uncomfortable. And that's why a lot of our cancer patients use KAATSU. Next question is, I like to do red light therapy while standing on a vibration plate. Would you suggest doing KAATSU before, after, or during? So a lot of people like to combine different things in the hope of being efficient. But if we think about it, what KAATSU is actually doing is creating this um, increased vascular elasticity, which is perfect, especially if you're going to do a, a vibration plate kind of training on a power plate or a whole body vibration device of some sort. So we would recommend doing KAATSU before. It is probably the most efficient warm up for you. Then take off the bands, then jump on the vibration plate as you are undergoing your red light therapy. Um, this would be the most effective and efficient use of KAATSU with a vibration plate. We do not recommend using KAATSU on a vibration plate. Um, it vibration plate has its role and its purpose. KAATSU has its role and its purpose, and we recommend that you separate those two. Now, you can augment your vibration plate training by doing KAATSU before. You can also do it afterwards, but probably after you've done KAATSU and after you've done a vibration plate, you might be done for the day. So you don't necessarily have to do it afterwards. Unless, for example, you have jet lag, travel fatigue, you're slightly stressed out from work or traveling on the freeways or wherever, and you would use a KAATSU an hour before you go to bed, and that would be a protocol that we call our nighttime therapy, where we or nighttime treatment, where we relax the body with the KAATSU cycle mode before going to bed, if any of those issues was impacting you. Okay. Next question is, I am 76 years old and have had resistance to buying a unit because I cannot find anyone to coach me. I am quite strong and healthy. I am also quite thin, so I've wondered about the ability to build more muscle. I work a lot in my large yard, up and down a hill a lot, carrying heavy things. Is there someone available to me to get started with a coach? It is helpful to hear the C4 is the best one for me. I live on the Big Island of Hawaii and have looked for a coach unsuccessfully. So we do have virtual coaches. We don't have anybody, to my knowledge, on the Big Island. Um, and if you don't mind working with coaches on the mainland, from the Midwest to California, um, we can we can make those introductions. That's not a problem. Um, you are strong and healthy, and you are thin. Now, what COTS will help you is to incrementally improve your strength. But if you're naturally a thinner individual, you aren't going to grow um, muscles, significant muscles in any way, but you will get stronger, and you should be able to see some more definition in your arms and legs, especially if you're actually using the bands as you're doing yard work up and down. Now, I would not recommend that you carry, let's say, a heavy bag of fertilizer or seeds or other things that you might be planting with the cut bands. That would be way too much. But you could do carry simple things. I know Chris is in Boston, and quite often, especially over the last few weeks when they've had a heavy snow, Chris actually puts his cuts bands under his jacket, takes his shovel, and then starts shoveling snow for an hour or two, depending on the amount of snow that's covered his car and his driveway. So we have a lot of people who have things to do, whether that's gardening or farming or shoveling snow. And since they're going to have to do that anyway, and they like doing KAATSU, they just combine the two. So Chris, puts on his unit on his arms, sometimes on his legs, puts his jacket on, puts the KAATSU cycle mode on, and goes and shovels. Chris, how is KAATSU winter shoveling?
Well, so it's a very interesting question, Steve. I do it in part to actually, that's why, again, we talk about the profoundness of KAATSU. I'll use it to, it actually helps me have a more intense shoveling session. But because I'm using it in the cycle mode, the moment I stop shoveling, it's actually helping me recover and eliminate or reduce soreness immediately. So it's kind of, my own personal hack to getting a better shoveling workout, but also a quicker recovery. So it's really cool. I know that sounds silly, but it's a great
Yeah.
way to shovel,
Yeah.
work out, and recover at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Next question is, you mentioned that your mother rehabbed with KAATSU after having two knee replacements. Did she try using KAATSU so as to not have a total knee replacement? That's the first question. Second question is KAATSU helpful for a meniscus injury? And the third question is, does it help restore synovial fluid? So the first question is actually, um, uh, I started using KAATSU in 2001, and my children, my wife, Chris, and my parents were the first users of KAATSU. Um, they all experimented on all the different devices and bands that we've had over the years. So she was using KAATSU years before she had a total knee replacement, but she had to have a total knee replacement. She used KAATSU daily, but it wasn't enough to regrow whatever she was missing or was rubbing. So yeah, cuts will not regrow things or allow a bone on bone to somehow get better. So she was on that path. It was very interesting because the first knee that was the first total knee replacement surgery that she did, she went the traditional route. She did KAATSU, but she went to the physical therapy clinic locally. She did all the things that people said. In addition, she did KAATSU. And I know because when she was rehabbing, we actually brought a bed into the first floor of our home, and she actually lived with us. Um, she doesn't live very far away, so it wasn't anything major. So she had the first knee replaced, did traditional rehab, and did KAATSU. The second, and that was okay, but it still it took more out of her than she thought. The second knee was replaced, I think, 6 or 9 months after that. What she did was what I had recommended initially, but what she really understood then is between the first and second knee surgery, she really did KAATSU. She did KAATSU a lot. She got in very good shape. Her knee still hurt, but she was doing KAATSU on her arms and legs really diligently. So she had the surgery, and after the surgery, um, she didn't feel as bad as she did the first knee. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean we're comparing apples to apples, but it was her same body, and um, she felt better on the second knee replacement. And so, surprisingly to me, she said, "I don't want to go to a physical therapist on the second one. I already know what I'm supposed to do." And so she rehabbed entirely on the first floor of our home, exclusively using KAATSU. And her orthopedic surgeon will be the first to tell you that the second knee repair was much easier. And I don't remember exactly, but it was um, at least half um, the time that she got to the same level as she was before. And I'm going to answer your question about meniscus injury, but I do want to mention Chris's own injury to his heel. It's a fascinating story. And it started off when Chris was coaching an age group swim team in Boston. And he had to, for some reason, the door to the pool was closed or locked, and Chris went around the backside and Chris, take it away from that point.
Yeah, so just a simple story is I forgot that I was getting older and thought that climbing over a wall in order to access the facility because the person who was supposed to open it for us didn't show up. So I was hanging from a wall. I dropped down, and a lot of people don't know, but the heel, it's the it's called the calcaneus bone, and it's actually quite hard. Um, I knew right away that something was wrong when I landed, and I had fallen too far. Fortunately, it was on my left foot. I drove myself to the hospital, to the emergency room, and was in an excruciating amount of pain. And the ER doctor said, "Well, we're going to X-ray it, but if it's broken," or actually, when he saw the X-ray, he said, "Well, you either did something really stupid or you took a sledgehammer to your foot." I said, "Well, I did something really stupid." But the story is that I was very aggressive with KAATSU for the next. They gave me a boot, one of these. They call it a walking boot, and some people might be familiar with it. You actually have a small hand pump that you can pump it up to give support with air. And they said I would be in it for 4 to 6 weeks. Well, 10 days after the boot, I took it off and started walking around. So it was real mind blowing for my doctors. I went back for my checkup, which was a 14 or 16-day checkup, Stephen. I don't remember. It was about 2 weeks after, and I never put the boot back on. So the moral of the story is for bone is the healing process. Bone and tendons, Stephen, as you've said in other webinars, is there's not a lot of vascularity to those areas of our bodies. So what KAATSU does is it's almost the analogy I use. I know it's a very anecdotal analogy, as you think of a tree in the desert that's searching for any kind of water, and what KAATSU does is help those roots reach the water, and that water being the blood and the nutrients necessary for bone tendons to grow. For this question, Steve, I know you're going to answer about the meniscus, but one thing that's interesting about synovial fluid is it okay if I answer that?
Yeah, please do.
So synovial fluid is, for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically it's this viscous lubricant that's in our knees, in our elbows, and in our shoulder. In our hips and our knees and in our shoulders, and it supports the joint. Just as you think of lubricating any sort of joint or gear. And what happens with an injury, and especially with age and arthritis, is the synovial fluid starts to decrease. Inflammation and arthritis tend to decrease. Well, here's an incredible thing. You know how we increase it? With exercise and movement. So when you think, well, does KAATSU help? Well, what helps is exercise. What KAATSU allows us to do is do exercise with low loads, so we get that extra benefit. So KAATSU will help the increase in synovial fluid. But what also we can do to help with synovial fluid is just while doing KAATSU is a fatty acid, 3-omega fatty acid diet, antioxidants. You can actually, even in our late 60s, 70s, and 80s, you can help bring back the levels of your synovial fluid. So it's not exactly the KAATSU, but it definitely is increased, improved, and increased and improved by the use of KAATSU with exercise and movement. So that's sort of tapping into your answer about the meniscus, Steve.
Okay, thank you. Who was the Olympic swimmer who had a knee? I forgot his name. He was from Bermuda, I think.
Oh yeah.
What
So
injury did he have?
So this was an Olympic swimmer who was preparing for. It was the 2016 Olympic Games, and we were within a year of his trials. He was swimming for, I think you're right, Bermuda, and actually it was in a silly. He and his teammates decided to play a little basketball before one of their swim trainings. This was down in North Carolina, Charlotte, a very famous swim program, and he was in his early 20s, and he had what's called a patella tendon rupture, and it was a double, so both sides. And basically, without getting too graphic, when that happens, the kneecap actually raises up just below the quad. So the kneecap actually displaces vertically. It's incredibly painful. So he had surgery right away, but used KAATSU very successfully, mostly for the tendon repair, and more importantly, what we all need to be aware of is the the help in keeping the muscle, the hypertrophy, right? So that we're avoiding atrophy and helping with the hypertrophy of the muscle tissue.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, you have addressed specific health concerns, but are there any contraindications in general for doing KAATSU? Um, what we always recommend, if you have any cardiac issues at all, either diagnosed or in the past, that you always consult with your physician before starting KAATSU or any exercise program. So, cardiac issues. If you have any uh, uh, cancer in your past or current, same thing. Discuss it with your physician. These aren't contraindications per se, but they are caution. We want you to have the complete buy-in uh, by your own physician who knows you best. Um, we do uh, we do recommend in the United States, not in other countries, but in the United States, that women who are pregnant do not do KAATSU. Um, that is more for legal issues rather than um, uh, a specific problem. In fact, in Japan, there are a number of practitioners who recommend KAATSU as the child is in the womb. We actually did a study in Korea where they don't have many young children, and the concept of their study was that if the mother can be producing more growth hormone as the child is in the womb, then that child will actually be bigger. They will actually be absorbing more growth hormone from the mother's use of KAATSU uh, in utero. Uh, so those are the ones that I can think of. So cardiac, cancer, pregnancy. Um, if you have something like a compound fracture or propensity for clots, then that's another reason to speak with your physician. It is also absolutely reason that you would do the cut cycle mode, so pressure on, pressure off, and not uh, what do you call it? And not the constant mode. You always start off in low pressure. But other than that, you should be good to go. If you have any specific concerns, you can also always email us at info@kaats.com with your specific issue, and we can use our experience and direct you to the appropriate use or not of KAATSU. Next question is, are varicose veins a concern? No, varicose veins are actually not a concern. They're actually something that we know POTS can help with, and that is because we're making the vascular tissue more elastic. And the reason you that one reason that one large reason why you have varicose veins is that the valves that are in the veins of the leg are not as elastic as they are before, and that causes a backflow of blood in the leg, which we see as varicose veins. And one of the key reasons of doing KAATSU is to keep that vascular tissue as elastic as it can. And when that valve in the leg veins becomes sufficiently elastic, then the backflow is reduced, and therefore the appearance of varicose veins goes down. Now, that does take a very gentle, diligent use of KAATSU, usually between 9 and 12 months. And so it's not a get rich quick scheme here. It's a very diligent, very um, meticulous way to increase that vascular elasticity that will help varicose veins. Let's see.
We got a couple people, Stephen, with hands
Okay.
up now for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Um, who has a hands up? Let me see. I'm trying to, I forgot how to.
Yeah, if you just
Here
click
we go.
on
Yeah. Yeah.
participants.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Chris. You have the floor. Hello, Chris. Perhaps he stepped away momentarily, so I'm gonna go to Laura. Laura, you have the floor. I think Laura, I think we called on her before. So I'll try Teresa and then I'll go back to Chris. Teresa, you have the floor.
Thank you. Can you do too much KAATSU? Because I do, I do it on low in the morning and I do, to six of
Uh-huh.
them, for both my arms and my legs. Could I do that same schedule in the evening, or what, is there ever too much?
Um, like anything, there's always a point where there's diminishing returns. Um, but doing it twice a day is actually what the KAATSU inventor has been doing for 59 years, twice a day, actually three
Okay.
times a day, usually. Now, and I don't say I do KAATSU twice a day every day, but I do it often. But I use it for more relaxing myself as opposed to building up uh, muscle. So if you see benefit in your morning routine, depending on what your goals are, and you want to do it in the evening, that's actually the beauty of KAATSU. Now, would you do it 3 or 4 times a day? I think that would be a good way to burn out on KAATSU. But doing it for a second session is not a problem at all.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. We'll go back to Chris. Hello, Chris. Uh, okay, we'll try Laura again. Hello, Laura. Hello, Laura. Okay, they may have stepped away. Do we have
Stephen, Laura actually put her question.
in the chat?
Yes, I have not actually asked the question. Please call on me. So Laura's ready. She
Okay,
just needs to unmute herself.
yeah. Go ahead, Laura. Let's see. Maybe Chris, can you send her a
Yeah,
message in the chat?
she's unmuted, so I'll send her a message.
Okay. All right. One thing, we'll keep Laura the lines open here. But one thing I was thinking about the question about the sensory peripheral neuropathy. Um, depending on its causes, um, I don't know medically if Raynaud's disease falls under sensory peripheral neuropathy, but certainly the symptoms are very similar. And that's when you have either a numbness or a tingling or a burning or sharp pain in your hands or your feet. Um, in these cases with KAATSU, we always recommend doing very, very, very conservative KAATSU, meaning that we usually, when we put the bands on, we recommend that we put the bands on with a one finger tightness, meaning that when they put the band on, um, let me just demonstrate it here. You put the band on with we call it one finger tightness. And so if I take the B2 unit here and I put it around my arm, right, where the bicep meets the the deltoid up here, you put it on with a one finger tightness. So meaning that I can put one finger in between the band and my skin. You can see my finger going here, but I can't put two fingers. There's just not enough room. That's what we recommend for the average person. But if you have sensory peripheral neuropathy or something like Raynaud's disease, that's a little too much pressure, manual pressure. So in these cases, we recommend that you put it less tight manually to put on and have either two or three fingers. So before I couldn't even fit two fingers in, and now I can easily fit two fingers and actually even three fingers. And then I would do the KAATSU on the low pressure. So sometimes with sensory peripheral neuropathy or something like Raynaud's disease, we modify the standard KAATSU recommendations to be very, very conservative or very, very less tight because just even here with the three finger tightness, I don't know if you can see, but my hand here is pinker than the other hand, even with that slight tightness. I haven't even turned the band on, and that increase blood in the fingertips, or if I had it on my legs, in the toes. If I do too much katsu, meaning too much pressure, then that would actually aggravate whatever um, numbness or tingling, pins and needles, burning sensation or discomfort in the fingertips. So we dial it back a little bit more. And so that's okay.
Stephen, we have Laura's question in the
Okay.
chat now.
Okay. Let's see. Um, I'm very frustrated on these calls because I never get called on and then get cut off. I'm an experienced user, so I don't understand.
Her question is the one right before Stephen in open
Okay.
questions.
Open. Okay. My question relates to using KAATSU on a rebounder. I'm experienced on a rebounder, so although it is an intentionally unstable surface, I am comfortable on it. I am told there is a possibility of lactate accumulation. Please speak to this. Yes. If you're doing KAATSU, even without being on a rebounder, you will accumulate lactate. Now, if you're on a rebounder, that will be more. Our recommendation is that you do not combine the two. That's our recommendation. If you're comfortable and confident that you can handle the lactate accumulation as you're on the rebounder, then that is your choice to combine the two. But whether it's a Bosu ball, a rebounder, or anything on an unstable surface, um, we always recommend not to combine one with the other. What we would recommend is you do KAATSU cycles before you get on the rebounder. That's our recommendation. Okay. See, do we have?
Yeah, we have now
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Chris has his question in the chat as
Okay. See. Um, Sorry, I can't unmute. I have a hyperbaric chamber, two-seater, and my wife and I dive to what is that? Two ATA, two atmospheric. Uh, we dive to two ATA for about 2 hours per day. I would like to consider using KAATSU once I'm at depth. Any thoughts? Is there any protocol? Yes, the we we often stress this, but we do not recommend combining two different modalities. If it's red light therapy, that's okay. But if we're combining something like uh, exercising on a rebounder and KAATSU, we recommend not to do it. Same thing with a hyperbaric chamber. One of our very experienced KAATSU user, Dr. Joe Dituri, is actually considered one of the world's foremost experts on hyperbaric diving. He actually used KAATSU in space, and he's used KAATSU at, I think, Chris, how deep was he under the surface of the water for 100 days? Um, I forget. It was maybe
I believe it was what at one ATA. He was just about 50 feet underwater.
okay. So uh, Dr. Deturi, one of the world's foremost experts on hyperbaric diving and an experienced KAATSU user, does not combine the two. So we have no protocols for that. And like the rebounder, we would actually recommend doing KAATSU before you go in your hyperbaric chamber, not concurrently. Okay. One more question. How many cycle sets do you recommend per day? Well, um, that's a very open question. It's very dependent on the individual, your goals. Are you using KAATSU for general health, to improve muscle mass, to increase stamina or balance? What we have on our devices is we have up to 6 cycles sets. So you can choose one, two, three, four, five, or six, with six being the maximum. That's both for your arms and then for your legs. So 12 total would be in one given setting. That's 12 cycle sets. That's about 90 minutes of KAATSU, with little breaks in between. So 90 minutes of KAATSU per day is a good amount of KAATSU, even if you're doing it while you're sitting down or relaxing. If you do that twice a day, that's 3 hours of KAATSU. Assume that you're in bed for 8 hours a day. That means 3 out of the 16 hours a day you're doing KAATSU. That's a lot of KAATSU. What I would recommend if you are doing KAATSU for the long term, that you keep it to six cycle sets or less or fewer per day. Um, it's more an issue of how frequently you do KAATSU as opposed to, let's say, daily, as opposed to, 3 times a week, as opposed to twice a week. Doing it more frequently is more important than the actual duration of any individual KAATSU session. Now, if you are injured, then and you want to rehab quicker than normal, then I would actually increase the number of cycle sets that you do per day. Um, but if you're healthy, if you're not injured, then I would say, and this is my personal preference and how we design the machine, is that 6 cycle sets on the arms and 6 cycle sets on the legs per day is a lot of KAATSU. You don't have to do that much, but if you like the feeling and like the results, that's okay. And that's about 90 minutes of KAATSU per day. So, you know, 3 or 4, I think, would be optimal and what I recommend to most people. See, next question is, I work out with KAATSU in the mornings and when I wind down in the evening to watch TV. I use KAATSU one night. I'm sorry. I use KAATSU one night, arms one night on my legs. I tend to put the bands on pretty tight and run through 6 cycles in the highest pressure. Is there anything wrong with this protocol? And should I change anything from the standpoint of tightness of the bands and the length of the cycle? Um, uh, Very good. What I would recommend on the arms um, is putting on the bands with a one finger tightness. So you can barely squeeze your finger in between the skin and the bands. And when you do that, even before you turn on the compressor, the controller, your hands should start getting pinker. So I don't have the unit on. I've just placed the bands on what we call optimally for a healthy non-injured individual. And you can already see the redness of my hand with KAATSU versus the normal color of my hand. And now I add upon that the cut cycle. So this pinkness and rosiness is going to get sort of like a beefy red. The veins of my KAATSU hand will be much more pronounced than my non-KAATSU hand. So if you've gone to that level of tightness, then it's not necessary that you go all the way to the highest pressure. Think about any compressor that we have on any kind of machinery we have. Um, I've been using our products. I use them daily. I use all of our different products. Chris and I both have a KAATSU Nano. That was our first unit, and we made that back in 2014. So, nearly 12 years ago. Um, we don't go to high pressure, but guess what? That machine is still working 12 years after we manufactured it. And so, quite often, if you put a higher pressure when you're manually putting on the bands, it's very rare. It's not unheard of, but it's very rare that someone can go up to the highest pressure. Um, your vascular tissue needs to be very elastic. Again, this is my KAATSU hands without any pressure, and this is my normal hand. So you can imagine, and I use low and medium. I don't ever use high. If I did use high, this would be a deep burgundy red, which is fine. I just don't need that kind of pressure. So in your case, you're doing everything right. Love that you're using the cycle mode. That's perfect. You're doing it up to 6 cycles. Great. Things are working out. I would just, you can achieve the same level of tightness with a one finger tightness and, starting off at low and then go in medium. So that's one. On the legs, what I would recommend, because in our legs, the veins are buried deeper um, in the limb than the veins of the arm. So on the legs, when you sit down and then put on the leg bands with the one finger tightness, do 2 cut cycles on low, or in your case, perhaps even medium, and then re-tighten the bands. Actually, take the band and incrementally put it even tighter. And when you do that, sorry, when you do that, um, your legs will respond. Then after you do 2 cut cycles, you slightly retighten the bands even more, then go up to your medium and high. And I think you'll get a really, really good workout on that or like that. Okay. Um, am I missing any?
No, I think, oh, we just got a hand
Oh,
up, Steve.
okay. Okay. Okay, Sherry, go ahead.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Thank you both so much for doing this webinar. This is wonderful. Um, I'm 62 and I have quite a bit of muscle loss. Don't feel quite that I've lost a lot of strength yet, but what would be a realistic expectation for increasing my muscle mass if I use this regularly?
Okay. So if you do it regularly, let's say, have you lost your muscle mass on your arms, your lower body, or all over in general?
Mostly in upper body.
Mostly upper body. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's very, very good, and you're for a 62-year-old woman with KAATSU, is that you can visually see the differences within 2 weeks. You will literally definitely see an improved definition in your arms. You won't necessarily see a bigger muscle, but you start to see a definition. And and I think that will motivate you to continue. Now, what you can do, and we always say with KAATSU, especially on the upper body, is start with your smaller muscle groups first. So when I put the bands on my arms, I would go, I would just sit here, um, go through 2 cycle sets. That's about 12 minutes of work. I don't have to do much. I could stretch. I could be texting or typing on a computer or doing any number of household things. And then we want you to open, we call these the KAATSU 3-point exercises. You don't need any weights, you don't need any extra equipment, just your KAATSU bands. And open and close your hands. Just open and close your hands. Gradually, you will start to feel lactate, or you'll start to feel that sort of muscular exertion in your forearms. Just go that back and forth, back and forth. Then you do bicep curls. The slower, the better. Just very slow. And then you do use your tricep and you really extend the arm out. You do those 3 exercises and you do that daily as you're doing the cut cycle, and you will start to see definition. Um, Now, you could do a variety of other movements, or you can do wall push-ups, chair push-ups. You can do all kinds of different exercises. You can even fold clothes, wash dishes, wash the car, brush your teeth, blow dry your hair, any kind of activity that you're doing. I would throw on the bands. We have one user. She's had a complete I'm saying complete. She has had a significant body transformation. I think she started when she was 56, and she did exactly what Chris and I have been recommending. She woke up in the morning, started to make her coffee, prepared her lunch, brushed her teeth, washed her face, put on her makeup, got ready for the day, all with her KAATSU bands on. She flip-flops from the evening, I'm sorry, for one day, let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, doing this morning routine with her armbands on, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, doing that her same morning routine that she will do whether she does cuts or not with the legs. She lives in a 3-story loft. So, her bedroom is at the 3rd floor. She walks down, starts preparing her day, then has to walk up to the 2nd floor and comes back down, all with the KAATSU bands either on her arms or legs. And she did it primarily because she was an esthetician and she had tendonitis. But just these simple everyday movements saw her. She didn't necessarily lose weight because she was more uh, gaining muscle. And so her body went through this very aesthetically um, pleasing transformation. And she swears by it. But I mean, she literally does KAATSU as she's moving around the home, in addition to the different exercises that we've explained. Once that process started to go, she started to take her bands into the gym and do more intensive exercises. So she does a lot of uh, glute bridges, lunges, some squats, all with the bands on, not lifting anything heavy, because it's gentle on the body. She can build muscle, or any of us can build muscle without lifting heavy things. And, I'm 63, you're 62. We don't need to lift things and get stronger and gain muscle mass with KAATSU. We just have to put it on properly, use the KAATSU cycle mode, and do it diligently, and frankly, stuff around the house.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
You answered my other question and said the bands are either on your arms or on your legs, not
Correct. Not
together.
both. Not
Okay,
both. Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. And the reason why is we have one vascular system. And again, this band has been on my arm now for, I don't know, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. And I haven't even turned it on, but I have more blood in this arm than the non-KAATSU. Now imagine I had all four bands on and I turned on the machine. I would have this all four limbs just absolutely beefy red, which means that I have less blood in the rest of my body. Now, I've been doing KAATSU for, 25 years, so that's not an issue, but we don't want anybody to have so much blood engorged in their limbs that they become lightheaded and fall. That's our biggest concern. And so we can achieve um, muscle strength or stamina increase, etc., by having the bands just on two limbs at one time. You can even, let's say, Sherry, you wanted to build up a little bit of muscle on your arms. You can actually go for a walk with KAATSU bands on your legs. So you have KAATSU bands on your legs and just walk in an exaggerated manner where you're um, contracting your bicep as pumping your arms as you're walking. And why? Because when you're pumping your arms with KAATSU and the muscle is contracted, what will happen is the brain senses stress in the muscle, in your bicep and triceps, and then it will secrete a growth hormone, and then that growth hormone will actually go to the stressed out muscle. Now, of course, it also, when you're walking with the leg bands, it will go to your leg muscles in addition, but also to your upper body. So it's a
Okay,
very unique way to build different parts of the human body.
very fascinating. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Okay. Chris, do we have any more?
No, I think we've had some good questions and
Okay.
answered all the hands.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Again, if you have any additional questions that's pertinent to you, you can always email us at info@kaatsu.com, and Chris and I will be available to call. And thank you very much. Aloha to the person from the Big Island. And thank you very much. Chris, good luck in Europe at the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, and Stephen, I've been chatting with a few people, so giving out some information and connected with a
Okay.
few of our attendees today. So thank you,
Okay.
everyone. Oh, we have
There's one last question. Will
we got
we
a
be
question.
receiving a copy of this webinar? We post the webinars on our KAATSU YouTube channel. And so if you go to our website, scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see the YouTube link. Click on that. And then this will be I think in a day or two, this will be posted in its entirety. So, all right. Thank you all. Bye.